Welcome to Identity Unboxed, where we provide mentorship and promote representation for Black professionals in the advancement of the Black community.
We are seeking guidance from exceptional Black leaders, scholars, and professionals with expertise in their respective fields.
We hope to foster a space that promotes authenticity, inclusivity, and restoration for our listeners while exploring the intersection of our personal and professional lives.
This project is a culmination of our lived experiences as young Black professionals to transform our life trajectories, to overcome adversity and reach triumph.
Our intention is to inspire you on your path to discovering your purpose. Welcome, Kenny. We are so grateful to have you join us on our podcast, Identity Unboxed, where we amplify Black voices, provide mentorship and representation for Black professionals, and promote the advancement of the Black community for our special episode, From Foster Care to the Olympic Track, Navigating Identity and Building Your Personal Brand. Kenny Bednarek, also known as Kung Fu Kenny, was born and raised in Rice Lake, Wisconsin, adopted out of the foster care system, and competes as a professional sprinter and Nike athlete. Kenny is a two-time Olympic silver medalist, world championship silver medalist, former world number 1 and currently ranked number 2, and is an unstoppable force. He's been breaking records and making history since high school, all the while inspiring young athletes around the globe to pursue their passions and make the most of each opportunity. Although his route to becoming a pro athlete was not ideal, the kid from JUCO Indian Hills Community College has never lacked speed, nor determination, discipline, and humility. He's a world-class competitor that's garnered a global presence as a role model to the youth, a fashion icon, a fitness enthusiast, and perhaps most notably, a champion that's leaving a legacy behind. He is currently a member of Grand Slam Track, a global professional track league that boasts matchups between the fastest stars in the sport. He was recently featured in the Netflix documentary Sprint that documented the world's fastest humans on their road to the World Championships and featured Kenny's 2024 Paris Olympics performance. And with that introduction, Kenny, in your words, you stated coming from the foster care system, a community college in the small town of Rice Lake, that doesn't limit how great you can become, and that you want to be the best to ever do it to give back to your community and inspire the next generation. Can you take us back to the beginning of your journey to become one of the fastest sprinters in the world and share a pivotal moment that shaped your professional trajectory?
So I've been track and field since I was in elementary, and I would say through elementary to I'll say freshman year of high school, that's when I started I was having more fun just kind of going through the motions, and I was always like the fastest kid in the school and one of the fastest kids at the track meets and racking up, first place ribbons here and there. But I didn't really start getting serious until I would say my freshman year, sophomore year, high school. And I wasn't having a mindset like, okay, I want to be a professional, because I didn't know that that was a thing back then. Like, I was still just, having my goals every year. Like, I want to be faster. I want to win state. I want to do this. And, I got my butt whooped my freshman year. I didn't get whooped, but I got second place in both the 400 and the 200. And that motivated me to want to, be better and, just to lose. And I started doing a bunch of junior Olympic track meets, I think my sophomore year with my coach, because he wanted me to kind of realize like, okay, you're one of the top athletes in Wisconsin, but there's a whole different world out there. And that's when I got my butt whooped, and that added more motivation for me to get better. And by my senior year, I ended up running, I think, the fastest 200 time in the country, running like 20.43. I think back then that was pretty good, but now we got kids that are running way faster than that in high school. And that's when all the schools started coming to me, and I, found out that my GPA wasn't where it needed to be, and I ended up settling for a junior college. And initially, I didn't like the fact that I had to go that route, because there's that notion where it's like, okay, he's fast at what he's doing. Why is he going to junior college? Is because he's not smart, and this, that. But I just ended up making some bad decisions that maybe go that route. And once I got there, I was kind of in a situation where it's like, okay, this is the hand that I dealt, and you got to make the most of it, and just got to grind it out and try to move forward. And I got to the point, I guess a pivotal point on me becoming the professional was when I ended up going to junior college nationals, and I ended up running 1949 in the semifinals. It was very wind dated. It was like 6.1 wind, so it was illegal. But the fact that my body was able to run that was something crazy. And then the next day, I ended up running 1980, 80, 82 or no 83, I think. And then I ran 44.73 in the same day. And that whole moment like changed my world. That's when all the agents started coming to me, trying to get me to go pro. Then you obviously have more collegiate the NCAA schools that are coming after you. And I ended up deciding to go pro because at that point I was kind of running so fast. It was like there's really no reason to go in the college route just because what are they going to do for me if I'm already running at this speed? So I just ended up taking a chance and I'm here today now as, two-time silver medalist in the 200 and yeah, just trying to get better every single day.
That's so inspiring to hear that you really took a chance on yourself, like you said, and you really believed in your capabilities, even with taking an unconventional path, going to a junior college. And I was going to ask you about, you mentioned that there were some perceptions about you maybe not going to like the Division I school or going to a more like illustrious university. And how did you kind of overcome that stigma if you did feel that about being at the junior college? Like, were there times where you were kind of like, should I even continue going down this path, or were you just always pretty steadfast in that?
I mean, I didn't go to junior college and there wasn't like any doubt, like, should I continue? Like, I always knew that I wanted to continue, but it's kind of like, okay, I'm going to junior college and I don't get to go to, Oregon or Texas, all the big names when it comes to track and field. And I guess for me, it's just kind of like might have a missed opportunity because you don't know what's going to happen a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. So that's why I was kind of like, okay, I could have done this, but here's where I'm at now. So let's just focus on the moment. Like, let's focus on every day. What can I do in order to get to the NCAA? Because initially, when I ended up going to the junior college, I was like, okay, my plan is to be here for 1 year and then go to University of Oregon or whoever I committed to. And it just got to the point where I cleaned up my act when it came to a school because like school wasn't hard. It's more so just me applying myself. I was more focused on having fun, be with my friends. Once I started actually being serious in the school, and then just focus on what my coach is telling me to do, be disciplined, not partying too much and all that stuff. That's when my performance went through the roof, and then I had the opportunity to go pro. And I think I was in a situation where if I wanted to go to the NCAA, I might have had to stay an extra year just because they have rules and guidelines, and I think my GPA coming out of high school wasn't too great, so I had to stay 2 years in order to go to 4 year. So yeah, just for me, it was always just about okay, this is where I want to be, and let's just work towards that goal every single day. Why am I here? I'm here because of this situation, but what can I do to get out of it? And that's how I got here today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I know earlier on you mentioned that you took some losses early in your track career that motivated you to do better and to, improve your game. And so I was wondering if you could share any words of advice or if you had anything to say to athletes who, maybe competing in that sport and feel that they might not be good enough or not fast enough. How can you encourage them to, keep going and stay persistent?
I would just say, there are three important things to be successful, which is hard work, discipline, and sacrifice. But I think the most important thing is to enjoy what you're doing because then the hard work won't be so hard. Um, for me, that's what I do with what I'm doing right now. Track is my job and it's, what pays the bills and everything else. But I don't think it as that. I'm still trying to have fun like I did in high school and enjoy, the whole process. And, with taking, losses, every athlete's going to take a loss at some moment in their career. And, you just look back at that and see what you did wrong and, just improve on those mistakes. And, with just repetition and, just being, just working hard towards your goals, you can accomplish anything. I mean, for me, for junior college, coming from being adopted, the path that I took in order to get here is, a path that most won't, but I still made it just by, staying with the game plan that I had.
Awesome. Yeah, sticking to a plan is very important. I know you mentioned that you were adopted and you were in the foster care system. And I was wondering if you could speak a little bit more to your advocacy in the for foster care youth. I know that less than 10% of foster care youth do obtain a degree, and so there are barriers to access and things like that. So I wanted to hear more about your perspective on the importance of getting resources and expanding that access to youth in foster care.
I mean, when it comes to foster care, I mean, there's so many kids that have untapped potential. All they need is just, the right person to come in and, nurture them and let them realize their dreams and goals. And, for me, it's like I was in a situation where I don't know where I would be if I wasn't adopted. So I think it's important that, just spread the awareness that, you know, like for me, like I could be the next, Kenny Bednarek, which I am, but I could be, the another kid that comes from adoption could be the next, biggest doctor in the world or something like that. Like these kids, like I said, they just so much potential, and they just need a love, care, and support. And what was your other question? My brain kind of got juggled.
Yeah, it was just, any advocacy you have or what do you think the importance is for advocating for more resources for foster care youth, given that less than 10% obtain a college degree and just don't have those resources that other
Yeah,
folks?
they just, we just need to help these kids because, like I said, there's just so much potential that they have. And again, like I was saying before, it's just you just need to bring the resources just for those people to actually realize their dreams and goals, and just by giving them a chance, it's one step forward for them to make a living and to be able to be the person that who they were meant to be. Um, yeah, that's all I can really say right now about it. I'm just trying to be a strong advocate for it because I'm living proof that no matter where you come from, you can be able to be successful.
Thank you so much. I really love to hear that. And you talked about untapped potential, and that's a big part of our platform that we've created here is providing that mentorship for youth and also representation. And you're someone that is showing youth that you're an example that you can be successful even coming from those type of circumstances, and that your circumstances don't have to define you. It's about how you overcome adversity, but also
Yeah.
giving these youth the tools that they really need to succeed.
Hmm.
And just understanding that there's not one way for folks to achieve their goals. And, it's great for people to hear your story. And I would love to continue to talk a little bit more about your experience growing up as a child that was adopted by a white family. You were raised in Rice Lake, as we mentioned, where the population is over 93% white and just over 1% Black, according to the U.S. Census Bureau in 2024. And can you share a bit more about your experience navigating this environment growing up in a predominantly white area as a Black man, and just describe how this molded how you've understood your identity?
Um, I've well, this is kind of tied in with my, family and identity, correct?
Yes.
So
Yeah. So whatever you'd like to share about just your upbringing or experience.
my experience and upbringing for me, when I was adopted by my mom and was introduced to the family, um, I didn't really have any struggle. Like the transition to being into that family, it was pretty smooth. I think I was fortunate enough that they were, embracing my brother and I, and they made sure that we were feeling very comfortable with just being a predominantly white family and then going to a predominantly white school. Um, yeah, I mean, my mom did a really good job, and everybody was loving. Um, they just made life so much easier for me just to kind of go through. Like when it comes to being Black and all that, being a Black man, um, I guess my identity is more centered on my values. Just being a good person, being a good son, being a good brother, and just being a good partner, and just wanting to give back to my community. It's for me, it's never really been about being a Black man, but being a good man, a strong man, a positive role model, and I just want I want young people, especially for those from challenging backgrounds, to kind of hopefully I could be that role model and that the blueprint for them, and to show them that you know it can be done, and we're in the situations that it's kind of a little difficult for some of us, but there's ways of navigating all that, and I just hope that inspired them, and then I would kind of feel successful about the whole situation. Um, I mean, obviously in Rice Lake, not obviously in Rice Lake, but being in a predominantly white school and I guess town and all that stuff. did have a little bit of, racism here and there, but other than that, like life was easy. Like I never had a situation where, okay, I'm black, you're white. Like this is it. Like I felt, this is my mom, this is my cousin. Doesn't matter what color they are. Everything was just molded together, and it was nice. Like it was a smooth transition.
I love to hear that. It's so heartwarming to know that they gave you opportunity, but it also sounds like they just really empowered you to be authentic and, genuine in who you are. And like you said, you really prioritize your values. And, that's very important for anyone just to understand how they come into their identity as they continue to move through life. And we've spoken about that on this podcast. We do highlight, Black professionals, leaders and scholars, but we all have a different relationship to our Blackness. And so it's really interesting just to hear how you spoke about that. Like, yes, you were aware of that, but it wasn't a defining factor for you and how you, continued to craft your journey. So.
Yeah.
And if you're comfortable sharing, I know, Tiana and I grew up in a predominantly white town, and from speaking to others in similar situations, it can kind of be hard to discover yourself and learn about your culture and your history when you
Yeah.
are. Yeah, did you have any trouble with that, or was there a journey to discovering?
I feel like in Wisconsin when I was there growing up, I wasn't really thinking about any of that, but it was kind of eye opening once I started going to like Junior Olympics. I went to Jacksonville, and the first thing I told my coach was like, "Damn, like wow!" I was like, "Wow, there's so many black people," because I wasn't so used to having people of my color and so many of them being in the same area. So I was kind of like this is a whole different world. And when it came to like my culture and everything, I didn't really learn anything until I went into college. So, I went into college as a freshman. My roommate, we were all chilling and everything, but they make fun of me here now and then with over things I would say because it wasn't like traditional. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you
Yeah.
sound like you kind of. I guess for some people I sound a little too proper or something like that, or I
Yeah.
would say something and just like, where are you from? Like, you're from the country or something, and like little things like that. So that's kind of was when I was learning a little bit more about my culture and everything else.
Yeah, no, that's so interesting too. And I really resonate because as Brad said, we grew up in a predominantly white town. But I was raised by my white family. I'm biracial. And so I've spoken about this on the podcast. But similarly, that was something that I experienced as well. Like when I came to college, it was the first time I'd ever been immersed in like, a space with Black people around me. And it felt, so reinvigorating for me to learn more about my culture because I didn't have that access growing up and my family didn't really show me that side of, myself. And so it was very
Yeah,
interesting to learn about it and also like recognize, like you said, those like socialization type of
yeah,
situations where people point things out. And like I felt that too. I didn't know like certain slang or I just spoke more, I guess, proper as you would say, but it's like people
yeah,
associating intelligence with whiteness or something
yeah.
other than Blackness. And so it was
And
kind of like unsettling too.
yeah, I mean, my mom did the best she could, but I
Yeah.
mean, at some point, you have to go out there and you gotta learn on your own. And the only thing I really just don't like, and I still hear it every now and then is, for me it's you're not black, and I just kind of like, what do you mean by that? Like, I'm
Mhm.
black? Is it because I walk like this, talk like this? That's the only thing that kind of bugs me. But other than that, like, kind of getting into the culture, like, yeah, it's a whole different world, and there's still a lot that I'm learning.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for sharing that too. And I think just like you mentioned, like feeling like not Black enough, like I definitely felt like that too. Just with, being biracial and
Hmm.
not having the experiences of like being around other Black people.
Hmm.
And so I think it's really important and like critical for people to hear, people like you talk about that and understand that Blackness can't be like it can't be created based on these like preconceived notions about what people think it is. It's like our own
Yeah,
experience, our
yeah.
unique experience, if that makes sense. So
I don't think it's
it's
just
us.
based on just the color of your skin. That's what I
Yeah,
feel. It's not just based on that.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, we have very similar experiences in a lot of cases when it comes to racism and just anti-blackness in America, but our own individual experiences make us who we are. And when
Hmm.
we bring those together and celebrate those differences, that's when we can really make a difference and accept one another for who we are. And, celebrate those differences within our community. So I appreciate you saying that. And definitely, we've seen that too. People saying, "Oh, you're too proper," or I'll, call someone on the phone and I'll show up and they're like, "You don't sound like a Brad," or like they say
Oh
that,
yeah,
like you don't look like
yeah,
a Brad.
yeah.
You talk, you don't sound like, and they were like kind of confused when I speak and they see me in person. And so I definitely resonate with that. And hopefully as we continue to, showcase successful Black people, people aren't shocked when we can speak properly.
Well, I think for me, uh, my name is Kenny. My legal name is Kenneth, and so you see Kenneth Bednarek. And if you don't know what I look like, and you hear me on the phone, like I kind of get the same thing. Like, oh, I didn't expect that.
Yeah,
That's
no.
how it kind of used to be when I was younger.
Right. Yeah, I was going to, kind of touch on that too. With your name, your adopted family, just people would probably assume that you're a different person when you show up. And so for them, it can be a surprise.
Yeah,
But
my
yeah.
mom ended up changing our names when we were younger because I mean the reason why we got adopted is because we weren't in a good situation with our previous
Mhm.
family.
Mhm.
I don't remember much when I was with my biological family, but
Mhm.
um, obviously we were in a crappy situation, so we ended up
Yeah.
getting adopted. And the first thing I think my mom asked me was, "Hey, do you know who these names are?" And those
Mhm.
are our legal names before, and we said we didn't. So she ended up changing me, my our brother's name, and I. She ended up changing our names just because we didn't know our own names for like 3 or 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
So
it
it's
was
helped
it
you
was
kind
nice
of
to
chart a new
experience.
path too.
Yeah, pretty much. It's kind of like a
Yeah, new
clean
life.
slate and start all over.
Yeah. Wow. And you were young then when you were adopted. You said at 3 or 4. Is that
Yeah, I think we
around
were
the age?
4, but yeah, around that age, 3,
Wow.
4.
So you don't have much of a recollection of kind of that.
So the only memories I really have are bad ones. So
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I basically had a memory of like me waking up having a bloody nose, and then
Aw.
me throwing a football around with I think was one of me and my brother's other brothers.
Mhm.
We ended up having an accident, and then I remember having chicken noodle soup with I think was my dad,
Mhm.
and then there was another situation where I got in trouble and they punished me, and then yeah,
Aw.
it was like really good memories. So it was kind of like,
Yeah.
okay, I don't know where it would be if I was still there, but
Yeah.
you know,
If your chosen family didn't show up in your life, and it's so
yeah.
amazing that they did. So, I mean, it sounds like you were a gift to them too. So,
Mm.
I'm sure they were a gift to you, but I'm sure they're probably so proud just to see everything you've done.
Yeah, I mean, my mom, she adopted my oldest sister and then the
Mhm.
middle sister before she adopted my brother and I. And
Wow.
yeah, she did it all by herself. I mean, she wasn't married or
Wow.
anything, so
Big
no,
family too.
yeah,
That's
big
so
family.
wow.
And I think about it every day now. I'm just like, I don't know how she did it because
Yeah.
when I get older and I see how kids are, but then now you have a kid that's adopted, and some of us we come with extra baggage.
Mhm.
With me, I was a lot to deal with just because I had a lot of emotional trauma. But um, how she ended up, taking us in and dealing with my attitude for 18 years. I don't know how she did that.
Yeah. It's such a big responsibility. That's so cool that you got to stay together with your siblings then.
Hmm.
That's great. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, oh, Brad, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say your story is beautiful. Just a little personal touch too. My grandma was adopted when she was 8, because her mother died in from cancer, and luckily her and her siblings were adopted well together. They were all together as well. And she ended up having to leave when she was 16 because her husband was Black, and her adopted mother was like, "We don't want you being with a Black man," and so she chose to leave and moved to the south side of Chicago. And so it makes me happy that you had sort of the opposite experience where you didn't have to deal with having adopted parents who were racist, or because there are even stories that come out today where some adopted parents will adopt Black children and then actually do horrible things to them and treat them poorly
Oh
because
wow.
they're Black. And so yeah, Tiana and I were just talking on the news about a pretty tragic story where some kids were like held captive, and were like treated as slaves essentially. And so I think it
Wow.
speaks to a larger issue of students, not students, but youth in general, not having the supports they need. And then when they go to those
Hmm.
environments, sometimes they end up getting abused or treated, unfairly. And so it's beautiful that you were able to stay with your siblings and then also go on to do all that you've done on the track and had that support from her.
Yeah, like she just did an incredible job, and um, track. Uh, I don't know if you guys heard this before, but track's kind of been that outlet for me to be free. Because I think when I was younger, just growing up, I didn't have control over what was going on in my life. At one point, I'm here at foster care, so I'm with random people that I don't know, and then I end up getting shipped somewhere else. And then, as a kid, you kind of like, okay, here we are. You get comfortable. Now you get shipped off again. Okay, I'm comfortable again. You get shipped off again. And I think I just had a lot of trauma from that situation where, I just didn't trust anybody. And I think that's why me and my mom had troubles in the beginning, just because, you know, I, I think in the beginning she was always saying like, "Hey, you're here to stay." And in my head, I'd be like, "Okay, she's saying one thing, but I don't think that's really going to happen." So I was always on my guard. And track was kind of a thing where as soon as I got on the line and the gun went off, that was the one thing that I had control. So that's why I think track and field was something that I really enjoyed, because every time I went on the line and the gun went off, I had control over what place I get or the time. Or I want to say time, but it was me against the clock, and all the results that are going to be put down is because of what I did, not because of anything that anybody else did.
Yeah, that's amazing. It sounds like it kind of gave you the ability to take ownership of your life when at a time you felt kind of vulnerable, like you were being moved around everywhere. You didn't have any like autonomy. And so it sounds like track gave you that. And now you've been able to kind of create a home and have that refuge for yourself. And so that's
Yeah.
great to hear.
They're able to spread me wings, as I say.
Yeah. And you get in what you put out with that sport too. With anything, but I feel like with track, you see the results, you're seeing the
Yeah,
PRs, and so you can,
yeah,
actually like catalog your progress along the
yeah,
way.
exactly.
That's great.
But
And then moving forward, oh, Brad, sorry.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, it's beautiful that you found stability within your passion. So I'll let you go ahead,
mhm.
Tiana.
Oh, perfect. Great. Yeah, just moving forward a little bit, you were featured in the Netflix documentary Sprint that catalogs the journeys of the world's fastest humans as they vie their way through elite track meets across the globe, including the 2024 Paris Olympics. And in a sport like track and field, where athletes don't receive the same recognition and exposure in comparison to other sports, what was the significance of having a glimpse of your story and hard work amplified for the world to see? And was there a highlight from this experience?
Um, I guess just I was just happy that we were able to have a glimpse of our story on the platform Netflix. I mean, that's one of the biggest platforms out there, and um, as you were saying before, like we usually don't get that much attention like as in other sports, and I think after kind of having that out there, that's kind of changed a little bit. More people are starting to get interested in track and field. I mean, right now we're at the point where track and field, everybody's interested in it when we go to the Olympics, but we're trying to get to a point where people start tuning in every single year for world championships, for Diamond League, and just to be able to have, my story out there. And it's not the full thing, but just to get a little glimpse where people are interested on who I am, where I come from. Like they know exactly why they're rooting for me, instead of just being like, "Oh, it's Kung Fu Kenny. He's fast and he's from Wisconsin, and that's why I like him." Now you can be like, "Okay, here's Kenny Bednarek, and he's adopted. He's this. He's that." Um, just a little bit of that will help improve our sport. And I'm hoping that we end up having a season 3. I don't know if that's going to happen, but season 1 and 2 did a pretty good job. But if we can have a season 3 and have more episodes with a little bit more detailed, um, have each episode more dedicated to like 1, 2 athletes, and have it more detailed to where you kind of go to their hometown or go to their training and see what it kind of the day in the life is with the athlete. I think that would be really great. I mean, some of us are doing it now, where like with me with my YouTube channel, um, I'm trying to show off who I am as a person, because you guys are already going to see the results on the track. And for me, I think that's boring. I know fans don't really want to see that. You want to see the end result, and you kind of want to see that behind the scenes. And I think that's something that's going to help promote the sport.
Awesome. When you were sitting down watching yourself on TV, on Netflix, what was that moment like for you? Did you look back on all that you've been through and where you came from? And was that a moment where it was like a realization of how far you've actually come?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, in a way, when you see yourself on Netflix, you're kind of like, oh, I made it. But yeah, I mean, just looking back on all the hard work and dedication that I put in, and to be able to have my face on Netflix, and just to see exactly what I was doing, because last year was kind of like a whole year where going through the motions, trying to get the work done, but then actually looking back and seeing the film and actually seeing what I was doing, like kind of puts in perspective on how hard how hard the work I was doing, or hard actually, what's the word I'm looking for? My brain is getting joggled. See all the hard work that I was putting in, you know?
Like, so your accomplishments, kind of like being
Yeah,
able to
exactly.
recognize it, like acknowledge, like, oh wow, I really achieved all this.
Like when I went to the Olympics, and it was the first time goal of mine was to make the 100-meter team. I did that. Then the next goal was to obviously win the gold, and that didn't happen. I ended up getting seventh. And for me as a competitor, my mind, as soon as I cross the finish line, win or lose, I really don't take a seat back and, enjoy the moment regardless of the outcome. And just looking on Netflix and actually seeing the whole thing unfold, that kind of brought in a different perspective. It was like, oh wow, like I'm I didn't accomplish what I wanted, but I still ran pretty good. And seventh at that time. I'm the seventh fastest person in the world. And like that's a pretty good accomplishment.
Yeah, no, definitely. And you should be proud of that. And I really loved the documentary. I do hope they have a season three because Brad and I are big track fans. Fun fact, we talked about this in our last episode with another track athlete, but we met in high school on the track team. And so that's how our friendship blossomed. But yeah, really, yeah, yeah. So it's like cool to see how the sports can bring you together, but also, really like encourage us to be our best selves even outside of the sport
Hmm.
too. Like you had talked about it, challenged you in the classroom and how you showed up in your life and just like being the best version of yourself. But I really hope that they do, get more into the lives of the athletes, like you said, in a more personal sense, because people really do love hearing, stories about us and just
Yeah.
knowing more about the person behind the times, or just being the fastest person. Um, yeah, so it's really cool, and I hope that they do have another one.
Well, they better, because
Yeah.
can't stop
But
now.
hopefully you're on it.
Yeah. Hopefully, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it would definitely be nice if they take the time to, hey, let's go to Rice Lake, Wisconsin, and see where
Yeah.
Kenny's from. Like small
Yeah.
little snippets of that, and then I'm here in Florida, just see what I do after practice, recovery,
Yeah.
or what do I do for fun, stuff like that.
No, that is so cool. And I was going to ask you about Paris and how you enjoyed that, but also like how did it feel to be like in the blocks, like on the track? Like what was going through your head during that?
Paris itself, I mean, I love the food, I love the culture. Um, Other than that, I don't know. I think for me, since I'm from Wisconsin, I'm not really a city guy, so Paris is not that, oh, it's Paris, city love, all that stuff. Like, I'm not really impressed by that. The only thing I really was impressed by was we went to the Louvre. Is that what it's called? Um, and
Yes, I think so.
we went everywhere in that big museum looking for a Mona Lisa picture. And when we finally found it and I saw how small it was, I was just like, wow. Like I was kind of underwhelmed, but I was like, this is it. Like
That's
I look,
actually funny.
yeah. So
Wow.
I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the food. But yeah, other than that, I'm not really a city kind of guy. I mean, the traffic is terrible. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was the Olympics too, so everything is amplified. So, when I went on the track itself, that was a blast. I mean, honestly, when I went into the blocks though, for the 100 meters, I would say more so. It was just so nerve-wracking because, that's the big moment. That's the race that everybody's waiting to see. Who's going to be the fastest man in the world? And that's the title that you get for the next 4 years. And I was ready to go initially, but then it was my first time running the 100 in a final like that, and I wanted to go like as soon as possible, but then music kind of started playing a little bit longer and longer, and then we were just waiting there. So I'm just kind of like, okay, are we gonna go? And apparently there was a situation where somebody went on to try to go on the track, so I think that's another reason why everything kind of got prolonged. Um, but yeah, that whole experience was just crazy. I mean, just not even just once the gun goes off, but just seeing the crowd like getting up to the blocks, like me looking at the entire crowd, like it was. I've never seen something like that before. And the first thing my coach was telling me, he was like, now when you get out there, don't look at the crowd because your heart's gonna drop. And I'm like, why would you say that? Because now
Yeah, he should have told you that because you would have thought about it.
I'm trying to focus on not looking at the crowd, and I think that would make me more nervous. So as soon as I got out there, I was just like, okay, screw it, let me look, and like I was fine, but it was just like, just I
A lot of people.
yeah, there's a lot of people, and I have to embrace the moment. If I'm out there trying to not look at the crowd, then I'm gonna mess up in the 100 because I'm more conscious about now nonsense. But yeah, that whole atmosphere was just crazy because just being in Tokyo, nobody was there. So that didn't really feel like an Olympics to me. And that's what I was thinking when I was in the 200 finals at Tokyo. There's music playing. I'm just like, this literally feels like a regular race. And it doesn't feel like, this is the biggest race in my life. The Olympics, like you felt all that. You felt all that energy, anticipation. Like it was insane.
Yeah, I could only imagine in my little high school meets that were low stakes, I would be getting the nervous peas. I get up to the blocks like I gotta pee, I'm nervous. So I could only imagine the Olympics, literally, I can only imagine on that scale.
I mean, for Olympics, I mean, I was nervous, but I wasn't crazy nervous because at the end of the day, it's like I know what I can do. I put in all the hard work. Yeah, I prepped for it. I mean, the people that I'm seeing are the same people I see every year. So there might be one addition, two additions, but I have a game plan. They have a game plan. If I just stick to what I know, then I'll be in a good spot.
No, that's so cool. And that's probably like so unifying for you to see those same folks at like all the different meets and their progress. So.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's funny because like you race somebody in the beginning of the year, you whoop them or whoop you or whatever, or it's a tide or whatever. You're like, okay, I'll see you at trials or I'll see you at the Olympics or World. So it's
yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, so you've competed in so many different places, and I know you mentioned that Paris didn't necessarily blow your socks off. Are there some like destinations that were your favorite, or is there a single destination that was your favorite?
I like going to Zurich. So there's that Zurich Diamond League. I like going there just because it's just beautiful. Like Switzerland is so beautiful, and I always if I'm staying out there like after the race, like 3 days because I have to go to another meet, it makes sense to stay there instead of going back home just to go back overseas. So usually I'll stay there for an extra 3 days or 4 days, and I'll do like some tour where we go into the mountains and everything. And what are those things are called? They're not called trolley, not trolley. Is that what's a thing that you go on the bottom and it goes up in the mountains? That's a
Oh,
what's that called? I forgot.
I know what you're talking about. It's like a lift, right?
Yeah, the lift.
It's like a lift. I don't know what the name is for it, but
called. No, it's not called a lift. Oh, but yeah, those things.
something. Yeah, we'll look it up.
Lift. Like, I think 2 years ago I stayed in Zurich, and I went to the mountains, and it was crazy for me because you're seeing these big giant mountains all around this certain spot, and you get on that lift and it takes you up higher to one destination. So then you're looking down and there's like a lake and everything from this certain level. And you go up another level, then you go up another level, and then it's snowing. You're just like, where am I? Like it's insane, but it's really beautiful too. So that's why I like going to Zurich all the time, just because like I said, I'm more of a nature's guy, and I just love being around just green grass. I don't like city. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like
No, it looks
like New
beautiful.
York. I don't like New York because everybody is like living on top of each
On top of each other, yeah.
I
It's
can't
so
live like
dense.
that. Like that would make me go insane. So I'd say Zurich. I like Qatar, Doha, just because they got so much money and like the buildings like that they have over there. It's just so advanced, and um, I would say for culture, I guess I like going to Kenya. I like that place a lot. I went to one of their villages, and I got to wear some of their clothing, and then they were doing like some dance that they were doing. So I try to do that, which I'm not really good at dancing, but just to kind of get a little bit of their culture and just see what some of the people do out there in the villages.
I love that. Kenya is definitely on the bucket list. You
Yeah, you
mentioned,
definitely should go.
yeah, you mentioned you like nature, so I wanted to ask, have you ever been to Seattle or Washington State?
I went to Seattle on a recruit visit actually in 2017, but I was in a
You're in the city, probably.
Yeah, I was in the city. Yeah, I didn't get the chance to look outside. Yeah, UW.
Okay, yeah, that's where we went to school. So yeah, you were in definitely a more like populated part, but Washington's very beautiful. I think you'd like it just based on what you're sharing because we have gorgeous mountains and hikes, and we have the water. People
Yeah,
go kayaking. Like it's
I
beautiful.
see that. I see that when I'm always as a connecting play. I always see what's out there.
Yeah,
So I'm like, oh, it's pretty cool.
it's so
Um,
green.
how do you guys even live in the city though? Because that place is way too hilly.
It is really hilly. I mean, you get your cardio in indefinitely, but
Gosh, walking to school is crazy, probably.
yeah, just we've graduated now. But yeah, no, definitely there was a lots of walking. And UW is a huge school. It's like a mini city. There's like, I think 50,000 students total. So yeah, it was huge. I mean, you would take buses and stuff to class because the buses like went through the campus and everything. But it was definitely a culture shock for us, like coming from the small town of Olympia. It's like the capital of Washington, but definitely more of a like suburb. And so I got here my freshman year. I remember I was like, wow, like this is fast paced. There's a lot going on, but I definitely adjusted. Yeah, but now I like really love going out to the hikes and stuff. Like on the weekends when I have time, like our summers are unreal. And that's like the thing that really reels people in Washington. They don't know about the gloom and doom that happens for like 6 months in the winter.
I was say, isn't it always raining though? Because when I went there, it was raining.
It is a lot of the year. I wouldn't say always. Like I think May through August is pretty nice. And mostly sunny, but we get like our showers frequently and sporadically. Yeah. So yeah.
Sounds like Florida.
But it's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Florida definitely has better weather year round.
Yeah.
Washington, we
Well, the
definitely,
beaches.
yeah, we get the doom and gloom pretty often. Those few months in the summer, it's like
You
it's
forget about everything.
you forget about it because it's so beautiful. So I'm always like, I hate Washington. I want to leave. It's so gloomy. And then the summer comes and I'm like, hiking every night.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this isn't so bad. So,
Yeah.
Man, I love it here.
Yeah. So you deviate between extreme. It's like a love-hate relationship. So that's how I describe it to people. But if you can't handle the like cold and rain, I definitely think it could have a significant impact on folks. And so I let they know, like, you have to be aware of that.
Well, I don't think I'm gonna be here in Florida after retirement. I'd probably go somewhere else where it's a little bit more quiet.
Cool.
And cheaper.
Well, yeah.
So.
And Seattle's definitely not cheap though. That's the one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but moving forward, I wanted to ask you because we've asked so many of our athletes about kind of their like pump up songs or just kind of like what your playlist is like. And so do you have like a favorite pump up song before all of your meets?
I actually do. I'm gonna get it real quick.
Really? Okay, I love it.
So, it just kind of depends, I guess, on the severity of the race. So I do have one I usually listen to, and I have a lot of songs with like Power from Kanye, No Child from J. Cole. So it's either Kanye, Little Baby, um, J. Cole, and Kendrick. That's who I kind of listen to. But if I really kind of want to be calm and all that stuff going into a race, because sometimes I don't like to get overly amped. Because one of my college coaches told me, he was saying, you wake up the day of the race, your body kind of already knows something going on. So why try to amplify that with music that's gonna, so you might end up making a mistake when the gun goes off. You might false start. So I actually took that advice, and I have another playlist of just something about like Afro beats, or more like, chill music and all that stuff.
That's great. No, I love it. Those sound like classics. Love Power. I love Kendrick. Not Like Us. It's like one of my favorite songs now. I've had.
Yeah. I mean, Kendrick and J. Cole are my favorite rappers just because, I mean, I guess they're not old school. I mean, would you kind of consider them old school?
I would say
how they rap though.
Classic. Yeah, I think like they have like an essence of like West Coast rap that we heard from like Tupac, you heard from Snoop Dogg. And so I think that's why I really do enjoy their music. And they have a lot of like meaning in the lyrics,
Well, that's why I love them, is because they have meaning. Like they're actually telling you something. There's a message behind. I don't like the rap today where it's just nonsense, I'm doing a workout. Yeah, I'm doing a workout. I'm just like, bro, what am I listening to? Like, I don't feel anything.
Exactly. Yeah, I view music like poetry, and that's what I love. Big Sean, J. Cole, Kendrick, and the mumble rap. It's definitely it's cute. If you're in a club, you want to hear nice that beat.
That's
but
not real art. That's not real art to me,
It's
though.
not art. Yeah, I mean, Kendrick obviously has the Pulitzer Prize, so
Hmm.
one of the most prolific of all time. But yeah, I love all his music. So
Well, let me ask you a
what?
question.
Yeah.
Who won, Kendrick or Drake? Kendrick or Drake?
Um, this is such a contentious one. Um, I'm gonna start off by saying Drake does make really catchy music, and I have been a fan of his, but when it comes to the art of rap and the storytelling, Kendrick takes it. I mean, there's just no question
Yeah,
about it.
I
You
agree.
know,
I agree.
there was not a debate there, and so yeah, too bad for Drake.
Yeah.
yeah, I like Drake. I feel like I don't want to be mean. I feel like a lot of his songs do sound the same.
So
Uh,
mainstream.
yeah, I love Kendrick. I definitely think Kendrick won this one. But we love them both. I
Yeah.
Drake.
Yeah.
I hope Drake can recover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of got washed.
Drake is always gonna be there because, like you were saying, he's mainstream. Like he knows what people like, and he's gonna continuously pop out like trendy songs, and that's why his numbers are always gonna be where they're at. So
Yeah. Yeah.
when it comes to
Love
actually
it.
like the art of rap, I take Kendrick over Drake.
Yep, yep. My favorite album of Kendrick's was Mad City. Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I love that one. Poetic Justice. It's like my
Yeah.
favorite song.
That's a pretty good one. Yeah.
And Money Trees.
Money Trees are one of my favorites too.
Yeah, perfect. Well, yeah. Moving forward, you qualified for all the Olympic teams for the first time in the 100 meter, 200 meter, and 4x100 this past Olympics. Even though you did compete in Tokyo before, like you mentioned. But can you share how you maintain your rigorous training schedule along with balancing your mental health?
Just having the right support team around me, just recovery, my diet and everything having to be on point. Um, which also considers I'm gluten free, so I have a gluten free diet throughout the season. I try to not have too much in off season. Every now and then I have some. And just being organic, um, just kind of maximizing those aspects. Who else? I use my physio 3 times a week. Try to get 8 to 9 hours of sleep a day, and yeah, just focusing on like the small little details when it comes to like muscle recovery and all that stuff.
Yeah, how do you practice mindfulness in the day to day, especially amid like the busy season when you're on the go so much and you're doing so much, literally running around everywhere? What do you do to kind of like keep yourself grounded?
Sometimes I do a little bit of grounding, so I like to walk barefoot outside to do grounding. So, like what me and my team were doing actually, like like every other day when we were at trials last year, you would just go outside, ground for like 15 minutes of just doing nothing, just being in the moment and just relaxing, like having the phones away, all that stuff. Also do meditation. So either use Headspace or a different type of person that use just to make sure that I have 15 to 10 minutes of just, you know, being in the moment, working on breath work and trying to, not have my brain go haywire all the time. And sometimes it's hard for me to, I guess, to be calm because like you were saying, I'm always on the go, 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 go. So for me to actually stop and try to like let my brain settle down, like sometimes it's hard for me to do that even while I'm trying to do like a meditation because sometimes I'm like trying to be in the moment, like doing a deep breaths and that, or just whatever the teacher is telling me to do. I'll always be thinking about something. And I'm like, okay, let me get back to this so I don't, have my brain going all over the place. But yeah, those are a few things I do. I mean, I guess another thing that I do kind of just let everything slow down is play some games. But that's pretty much it.
No, that's great. And definitely, I feel like many people can relate just because of like the fast pace of life that we live here in America. It's like always hustle, hustle culture. And so
Hmm.
people are always thinking about the next thing they have to do or what's on their to-do list. And I think it's great for people, to hear that from you. Like you are being intentional about creating the spaces to go out, be off of your phone, kind of do the digital cleanse, get outside, ground yourself. Like I love, yeah,
Hmm.
being outside too. And I think that's something that we need to practice more is like the moments of stillness and presence, and that will
Yeah.
bring us closer to ourselves too.
Also started doing a little bit of Tai Chi. So we started doing that
Okay.
this year more often, and that's kind of one of the things that kind of helped me be still, but also be fluid with my movements and everything. And it's so hard. Like I'm like,
It's slow, yeah.
yeah, it's so slow, and like you were saying, you always want to go,
Yeah.
but like to actually get everything right, you got to be nice, smooth, balanced, everything. That's just a whole different world out there. And but I also think that's gonna help me like physically and mentally when it comes to my sport as well.
That's so cool. Have you tried like yoga or do you do like other workouts too to supplement your, running workouts?
Yoga I've tried. Uh, I was doing that like 3 years ago,
Yeah.
but I haven't been doing that often just because like the days are so long and trying to
Yeah.
fit in yoga is not really going to be possible unless I do it on the weekends. The
Hmm.
weekends, that's when I'm like, okay, I don't want to do anything.
You gotta rest. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it, but then I'm stiff. Like I'm a sprinter, so when I see people doing
Quick
things, I'm just
movements.
like, how am I going to do that? Like my
Yeah.
body's like, what are we doing here? Don't do this, please.
Right.
Um, but I guess when it comes to like me doing other things, um, I do stuff like rock climbing or shoot, what's the other thing? I did something that's called the Savage Race, so that's kind of like a little bit of Ninja Warrior stuff. So you like running on
Yeah, like the obstacle courses or
yeah,
I've
like
seen those.
obstacle
Yeah.
like we're on like 20-acre land and they have like courses like
Yeah.
around the whole spot.
Mhm.
I do stuff like that. I mean, it's not track related, but it's engaging different parts of the muscle. And I think
Yeah.
when you're in high school and college, well, more so in high school, but a lot of people don't have injuries because they're multi-sport athletes and you're using different parts of your bodies. Once you get to that point where you're just constantly using same muscles, doing the same workout, or engaging the same muscles in a different type of workout, that's when you start to have injuries. So I try to do things that make me use like different parts of my body so I can be more well-rounded and I don't have to deal with injuries or little knickknacks.
Awesome. We've spoken to a lot of athletes about visualization and the importance of just, like grounding yourself and visualizing yourself winning the race or in the race. And do you practice that? And is that important to you?
Yeah, we practice that. I don't do it all year, but I pretty much I get closer to like trials like a month before, 2 months before. I start doing that. But yeah, it's important. I mean, you gotta, you're constantly saying you want to win, but you gotta see yourself winning before you get to that point. And yeah, I mean, I have my thing where, from getting how I want to get into the box, how I want to feel before I get into the box. Once the gun goes off, like, what are you feeling? Like, you have a big push? How are you feeling at 10 meters, 50 meters, whatever, the whole race? Like, I have the whole thing down. Um, we also do that thing where, what's that thing? I forgot what it's called. Affirmations. We do affirmations as well. I really like that. You have your words or sentences you want to say. You look at yourself in the mirror, say it with confidence, and eventually with repetition, you believe it, and that also helps with your race as well.
That's awesome. I wanted to move on to the next question. You go by Kung Fu Kenny. Can you
Mhm.
share how you decided to brand yourself with this name and also the reason behind your signature bandana that you compete with?
So, Kung Fu Kenny has a set of values that pertain to it, which is humbleness, discipline, and respect. And coming into the year of 2021, I wanted to stand out as different from amongst the other athletes because we're at a point where you have all the same uniforms on the line, whether it's Adidas, Nike, whoever, and Kung Fu Kenny kind of came in with my name being Kenny, and I'm a big anime fan, lover, and just the headband. Like I've always worn a headband, I think since college, and it was kind of like okay, this makes sense. But like I was saying, like Kung Fu Kenny it has values that pertain to me as well. So we were put that together. We were going to Tokyo, Japan that year, so we were sticking with it that year. I think we were thinking about changing it, but after that whole year, I popped off, and it kind of just everybody flew with it. So that's how we came up with Kung Fu Kenny. I mean, yeah,
Yeah, I love the intentionality behind it, that it really like stands for something like you said, and it sounds like it kind of guides how you approach, your work. And I was going to
yeah.
ask you, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I mean, you guys probably see. Like, I'm not that. I'm not that aggressive as an athlete. Like I don't.
Mhm.
I'm not on the blocks like I gotta get it.
I'm the
Perfect guy,
best. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
I
a good
go
sport.
in. I go in and do my work, lead.
Mhm.
Run fast or whatever, and that's how I kind of came. Kung Fu Kenny was humble and discipline and respect, and I kind of ties it with like who I am as a person. And shoot, what was the other thing I was gonna say? Uh, oh yeah. So the funny thing is with the whole situation, like that's my brand right now. And I've had so many people ask me like, "Oh, Kung Fu Kenny, like, do you actually know Kung Fu?" And I was like, "Ah, it's got me." So that's why I started actually learning how to do Kung Fu. So
Oh, really?
uh,
I was gonna ask you. You gotta probably get into that now.
yeah, so I'm actually trying to learn because I've always wanted to learn, but it's just
Mhm.
trying to find the time. And now I found the time, so I'm doing a little bit
Yeah.
now.
That's so cool. I was going to ask you what your thoughts are and kind of the importance of creating a personal brand or any advice you have for other like athletes, particularly track athletes, because it's like a really independent sport. So do you have advice for folks on like how they can maybe start to create their own brand or just kind of ways to market themselves?
I mean, if they have a certain niche, like anything that they love or want to, like something that's unique about them, just put it out there and start marketing like around that certain thing. For me, it was about kung fu, anime, who I am as a person, like my personality. So we started just marketing myself around that whole situation. Um, putting my personality out there. Like I love anime, I love video games. I'm adopted. What can I do to kind of have that tie in with my brand? So I'm an advocate of adoption, all that stuff, and just reaching out to people and getting in a few events here and there, and just get that done.
Awesome. I know you mentioned Kung Fu Kenny represents some of your core values like humility. And I wanted to know, how has your life changed since getting all of this exposure? And how do you remain humble when you're on the scale and competing at the scale that you are?
How has my life changed? Shoot. I feel like it hasn't really changed that much. I mean, I do a few more speaking engagements here and there to tell my story. Um, I know that a lot of kids look up to me, so I'm a bigger role model than I was before. Um, yeah, I mean, for me, I really feel like nothing's really changed. I just have the right support team around me. I mean, my family, my girlfriend, coaches, like all of them keep me humble. I mean, not just about like when I say coaches, I'm thinking about high school coach, college coach. Like I still keep in contact with all of them, all my buddies back in high school, back in college. All of them kept me humble through every level. I'm always doing my thing, and I'm always gonna end up performing at my best every single time I step on the track. But for me, it's like regardless of what I'm doing, if I break the world record, get this many amount of gold medals, I don't really need anything. Like I know people are gonna say it for me, so that's how I kind of keep myself centered and humbled.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's definitely clear that you're really grounded and, like the work kind of speaks for itself. And it sounds like you have a really good support system around you that kind
Yeah,
of makes you kind of remember where you're doing
yeah.
from.
I think that kind of came from just my mom and just being in the Midwest. You kind of
Yeah.
grind, and yeah, you just let people speak for you and get the work done.
Right. I know we already spoke about music a little bit, but you said you are learning Kung Fu. And something that came to mind for me was the fighters, when they walk out, they have their fight song. If you were to have one song that was
Oh
like
man,
your brand, like what would Kung Fu Kenny's fight song be?
I never thought of that. I don't have one right now.
That's such a good question, Brad.
Yeah, that is a good question. No one's actually ever asked me that. I want it to be like kind of kung fu related, so I have to think about
Yeah.
that later. Yeah,
Okay,
I
we'll
can.
let you
I
you
can.
can follow up with us on it.
Yeah, I will. Yeah,
Yeah, we'll look at the Kung Fu Panda soundtrack.
that's what I was looking up.
That's so funny. Oh, great. Well, yeah, I just want to move forward. I know we've like had you for a while now. I can't believe the time it's been flying, but we're almost to the end of the interview here. And I know we spoke some about your childhood, your upbringing, like how it shaped you. But can you think back to your childhood as an eager, bright young black boy? And what would you like to tell your younger self? Also, for aspiring professional spinners like you, what is the greatest piece of advice that you'd like to share with them?
So I guess looking back on my younger self, I would tell him, just listen to your mom, listen to your coaches. I would say obviously do better in class. I'm lucky that I ended up being in the situation I am, even though that I was, messing around. But yeah, like those things, just parents, coaching, and then just work hard in the school because everything is gonna be all right. When it comes to advice for other athletes that are aspiring to be professional, um, I'll just say, like I said before, there are three important things, which is hard work, sacrifice, and discipline. I mean, those are three key things for them to achieve their goals, no matter what it is. And just make sure to enjoy what you're doing, and then hard work won't seem so hard. I mean, that's what I'm doing in my lifestyle. Like, the track is hard, but I enjoy it, so it doesn't make it as hard as it is.
Right. I wanted to know, you mentioned, college, and I know for a lot of college athletes, it can be stressful because the sport is pretty consuming. Sometimes they have to work, they have to manage class, and of course, everyone wants a social life. So now that you've been through that, what advice can you give about balance and also potentially sacrifice if you're really trying to make it far in the sport?
I mean, if you're really trying to make it far in the sport, yeah, there's going to be a lot of sacrifices, whether it's, you're not going out to parties as much with your friends, or you're having to obviously cut off some friends. I mean, that's some things that I had to end up doing. Um, some people are not really going to help you get to the place you want to be. They might drag you down just a tad. So, making those tough decisions on why you're here and are they really going to help you achieve that goal? Um, and I mean, honestly, when I say sacrifice, it kind of comes with everything. Like, if you want to be a professional, or you want to get faster, or, if you want to go to the next level in anything, like, you'd have to clean up diet, you have to clean up who's in your circle, and you just have to have the right people around you. I mean, there will be times to be able to socialize and be able to just live your life, but if you really want to get to the next step, you just have to balance that whole thing out.
Yeah, it sounds like it really just comes down to discipline, like you've mentioned, and having kind of like I've heard people use the term it's like your board table, and that's going to keep changing as you like move through different phases of your life. And so I think it's great you pointed that out about you might have to let some people go that were along for certain parts of your journey, but as you move to that next level, like they may not be along for that ride anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I had some really like cool people around me when I was in college, and once I went pro, I had to say hey bye, because kind of be not be kind of becoming a distraction, actually. Like, you're not really helping me improve my lifestyle, and you know when you're at this level, like, everybody's fast, and what's going to be the difference maker is your decisions that you make on the track and off the track.
Yeah, I wonder if you could speak to that more because I know as people ascend in their careers and their professions, they're really elevating their lives. And oftentimes you do have to let go of friends, people, places, and things that you maybe once were aligned with that you're no longer aligned with. And sometimes people might get offended for that or think, oh, Kenny thinks he's too big to hang out with me now. How do you navigate that and also, make sure that you stay true to who you are, know that other people's opinions don't matter and you're making the best decision for you, not for others.
I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, if you are trying to accomplish something in your life, and whether it's a regular job or trying to be the best in the world when it comes to track and field or whatever, that you just gotta set boundaries. And if they're trying to step over those boundaries, like, you gotta let them go. And um, uh, you, those friends that you have to get rid of, like, you'll eventually find new friends, or they will come back and understand exactly what you're going through, and they will respect what you're doing, and then they can kind of coexist with that, and you find that balance with your friend. I mean, I had a few friends every now and then be like, "Oh, you're too big for me," but it's like, no, like, I got stuff to do. Like, I'll make the time for you when I can, but you have to work with me, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think like you're saying, some people are not going to understand like what your goals are too. And if they don't understand, then they maybe don't need to be in your space or they maybe don't deserve to be in your space, at this
Yeah, I
point.
mean, it's a different lifestyle for me. Everything that I do right now matters. If I go out drinking and I stay until 5 in the morning, like, I'm gonna feel it the next day, and maybe the next day of practice, and that's a day that I wasted in practice. And all those things it's a domino effect. If you let things or let people drag you down, it's gonna affect everything, like the whole chain.
Yeah. No, that's such valuable advice, definitely. And also that just being assured, like you said, about just knowing your goals may not make sense to other people too. And
Yeah,
it kind of don't
exactly.
have to. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
You don't owe everybody an explanation, I guess.
Yep, exactly.
And well, thank you so much, Kenny. I know one thing that we ask all of our guests, or this final question is something we ask all of our guests because while we are all Black, our experiences are different. It's not universal across the board. We all come from different backgrounds with different lived experiences, but those experiences make us who we are as a collective. And so, one thing we ask everyone is, what does Blackness mean to you?
I mean, my Blackness means to me, it's more about my values, which is about being a good brother, uh, boyfriend, son. I'm being a good role model for the next generation, and um, it's not really about the color of my skin. It's more about how I conduct myself as a person and individual. And if I'm known as a good person, it could be a blueprint for the next generation, or just people just I want to be known as somebody. Hey, there's Kenny Bednarek, and that's a good man. Instead of, hey, there's a Black man, and he's a good man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing. And it sounds like you really stepped into that role of being a role model. I can tell that you're like very proud to have that, opportunity. And it's like a responsibility that you don't take lightly. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And Ashley, I know that we're closing out now, but we really appreciated your time. And we're just so grateful to have spoken with you. I know you're very busy in the midst of your season right now. You actually have a meet coming up soon. But is there anything else that you'd like to share that we didn't cover? I know we covered a lot, but
Well, as you said, we got another meet. We got a meet coming up. So, I got that Grand Slam meet coming up, I think in a
Yep.
week and a half on the 4th to the 5th. So, I mean, I'm just excited for that. Hoping everybody can tune in for that. I mean, it's going to be a blast. It's going to be fun. And I'm going to tear up the track. I got something cooking.
Yeah, we'll be watching for sure. We're super excited.
Yeah. But I appreciate you guys for letting me on here. And what time is it? Yeah, we had a pretty good conversation. I mean,
A long conversation, yeah.
yeah, it was pretty long. But yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys.
Of
Thank
course. Yeah, and before we head out, I wanted to know, do you have a message for the fans who are going to be watching you compete this season? Any words for them as they watch along?
All I can say is what people saw last year was kind of the tip of the iceberg. Um, I have a lot in store for this year, and I'm expecting to see a few gold medals around my neck. That's the goal this year. So stay
We hope
tuned.
that for you too.
Enjoy the show.
But we're very grateful again to have spoken with you. It's been an honor, and we're so excited for our listeners to tune in. I know this is going to help a lot of people, so you're going to inspire so many people.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for having me on, and I enjoyed it.
I'm going to say, hope we can connect again soon too.
Oh yeah, sure. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
All right. I'll see you guys.
Great.
Thank
Have a
you.
good rest of your weekend. Bye.
All right. Bye. You too.
Thank you for joining us, Kenny. Kenny's next race is the Grand Slam Jamaica meet from April 4th through 6th, where he will be competing in the 100-meter dash and the 200-meter dash. You can find his full race schedule and subscribe to his newsletter to stay up to date with his career and season on his website, kennybernarek.com. You can also follow him on social media at Kenny_Bednarek. We are so grateful for your support, and thank you for listening to Identity Unboxed.
Authenticity is your guide to cast an impact on the world that you will be proud of. Signing off with pride, Tiana
And Brad.
Thank you so much.